So we've got a new episode of Bewildered for you today, Kahoot.
Yes, it's called Outkind the Culture.
And we're talking about how the culture sort of likes to set up an idea of kindness that tends to keep us in our place and also stops us really understanding what kindness truly is, which is pretty amazing.
Absolutely. The culture should be afraid of that. And we go into it in this episode. Ooh.
Hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Martha Beck.
And I'm Rowan Mangan, and this is another episode of Bewildered, the podcast for people trying to figure it out.
And it seems to get more and more complicated the more we figure.
The deeper we figure, the less it outs.
That's really incomprehensible, sweetheart.
It's a poem I just wrote.
Based on something a toddler once said.
Yeah.
Just in the car, a 4-year-old. See if this is creepy enough going, the more die, the more be born.
And
that's
then you
what
say,
she says.
What are you saying? Why did you say that? And she goes, you never know. I mean, the kid is creepy.
Odd. Well, so we can't figure her out. But what are you trying to figure out lately, Rowie?
Real estate, baby. Real estate. Yeah. We are, for our sins, embarking on another real estate adventure. And the other day, that included showing our home to some strangers. And I think it's fair to say, Marty, that we're the epitome of the we don't want you to see how we live kind of archetype.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so we don't like showing our house.
Now, let me clarify. We're not like hoarders. It's just a very weird house because we had a baby the house is great, but we're weird inside it. Like super weird. Like, why do we have all these bedrooms and stuff?
No, I think we don't want people to know how we live.
Okay.
I'm prepared to own that.
Okay.
It's not that weird. No one wants people to know how they live. So, but especially us.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. I, like any good weirdo, took myself to Google to be like tips for showing your house so that people will want to buy that house and you can move to another part of the country for no real reason. And so, and the internet, dare I say, knows me.
Mm-hmm.
And so in addition to the baking cookies advice, I always thought it was baking bread in Australia, but I guess Americans are very committed to the cookies.
Yes, Toll House cookies. It's an absolute must for selling a house.
All right. So it also gave me some very fruity woo-woo stuff that I needed to do. So fast forward to the morning before these strangers are coming. We want to get out of our house because,
never
the
be
realtor's
home.
like, you can stay. And we're like,
no.
We would literally rather have our skin peeled off with a vegetable peeler than be here while someone looks in our closets.
100%. I would be hiding under sacks of cement in the garage.
So we were rushing to get out, and Marty's strategy was she's going to buy plastic bins.
Yes.
She's going to put the mess in the plastic bins and hide the plastic bins containing the mess in the attic. Am I right?
It's not so much a mess, it's just stuff. It's not that.
What's the difference between stuff and mess?
I don't know. I grew up in a hoarding house and I'm sensitive about it. I have a little trauma here. Yeah, I don't want them to think that I'm sitting on a sea of grotesque food rotting or something.
So it's just the more you protest, the more they do think that.
God, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, this went from a lighthearted, funny story to we're delving deep into the recesses of your psyche.
I'm so sorry. It's just going to go that way, isn't it? It's very traumatic. Okay, just move along with the...
Okay, so when it became truly hilarious to me is, and I'm laughing at myself here, you're diligently filling plastic bins with the stuff, and
clean stuff.
I have hidden all my stuff behind a armchair. and in drawers, like obvious places. I wasn't organized enough to go to the attic. But I just was struck by like our different ways, because you were quite stressed out in the bins, up the stairs, down the stairs. And so I am walking around following the instructions given to me by the internet and clapping in corners. So you got to clap in corners, you see, if you want to sell a house.
Wait, but why would you clap in the corners?
Well, listen, I've only just found out that this is essential. And I mean, I dread to think how easy my life could have been in the past.
I saw you saging. Like you drifted past me in a thin haze of smoke as I actually like put things away so it looked like nobody lived here at all.
And is it like a what do you call it when you go into the little booth? A confession? Is it a confession when you sage your own house before someone comes in? Because I just thought they want to imagine themselves. So I'll just clear our energy so that they can feel their energy there. But it's also, if they could smell the sage and they know what it is to sage a space, they would think, who lives here that they think they need to sage?
But here's the thing. The smell of sage is just the smell of smoke. So they wander around the house thinking, it's on fire. I just can't see where.
Actually, the smell of sage is just the smell of weed.
That's true. So these people are completely baked. That's why they're putting cookies in the oven. And also why the house is on fire and someone has been applauding to all the room corners.
It's so funny. So you have to clap in the corner because you have to clear out stagnant energy. Oh. See, I never knew, Marty. I never knew. I should have been clapping in corners.
There's so much stagnant energy in our corners.
I know. So I walked around the house and I was really unclear because the internet hadn't specified like how many times you must clap. Do you judge how stagnant the energy is? And we've got a lot of weird angles in our house because there's like the A-frame bit and it's like, how do I clap at it? How do I ensure that? And it was just, I was just laughing at myself walking around. Sage, clapping, clap, clap. Congratulations, you can have our house. Anyway, they hated the house, so good old life.
Yeah.
Don't clap in corners.
Yeah, a house of demented people, obviously high on weed and binging on cookies, applauding to themselves in every corner of your house, and you can feel that energy. Yeah.
There's another thing I forgot to mention, which is that we did make cookies.
Yes, we did.
And we took them out of the oven and I was so ashamed of the cookies. We'd planned to leave them out as a bribe. But I was so ashamed of them because they were like, what's this? They were like, I can't think of a verb for what they were doing, like languishing all over each other.
Yeah, that's a pretty good word for it. They were cookies that languished.
They were draped over each other. And
they were.
It just looked like a pile of cookie dough.
It was lovely and it was perfect and they were crunchy on the sides and soft in the middle, and it's your fault that we stuffed them in a drawer right before we left the house.
So lucky I clapped in the corners. That's all I can say.
That's true.
All right. What are you trying to figure out?
Well, I'm trying to figure out, as usual, my horrific social anxiety because bad things happen to me when I'm standing in line. And the reason is because I get so bored standing in line that I play games on my phone, right? Play a little game on your phone. But I refuse to pay for the games, so it goes to ads.
Oh, God,
and
I know
the
this
ads.
about you.
So I turn off the music and sound effects on the game, but then the ads come on and they're out loud. And so I'm standing in line, and suddenly what everyone around hears from me is the sound of whatever ad it is. And it's usual. Lately, it's like physical care products, although some are also for dog care. So I'll be standing there and they don't know my voice. They haven't heard what I sound like. So I'm just standing there and suddenly everybody in the area thinks that I say something like, free calming duck. These are all real things that happened.
Say again?
Free calming duck. You buy this duck. It's supposed to calm your dog down. It's a fake duck, and it calms your dog.
And it's free?
Apparently so. I don't know, because I always immediately, hit the mute button, panicking because everybody around me thinks that it sounds like an imperative, like free the calming duck. right? And then they're
like, Marty, that's a defensible political position.
Well, and then they think if somebody sees me twice, they're going to really think I'm demanding, because another one that shouted to all the people was, "Stop dusting." And everybody looks around at me like, "Well, says who?" And then there are the truly bizarre ones. Like, I loved this one when I was at the post office. "My gums have never felt calmer."
You're kidding me.
No, it came out. That is what the ad said. "My gums have never felt calmer." You're supposed to buy this thing and bite down on it, and it calms your gums.
My gums aren't stressed out.
Mine, it turns out, are very stressed now that I know there's a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think my all-time favorite was this makeup ad. And it starts out with a woman saying, in sort of shocked delight, "Where did my pores go?" So everyone out in the world thinks that I'm standing there just pondering aloud, "Where did my pores go?" Which is not a sane thing to say.
And not if you say, in any context, not in an ad either.
No. Where did my pores go? Once my older children had a kind of contest to figure out what is the most disgusting orifice for your brains to ooze out of. And they settled on pores. So pores have a certain special place in my memory, but
are pores strictly an orifice?
I wouldn't have called it that, but I think technically you could say your pores are orifice-like. Oh, that is disgusting.
Because if you accept that your pores are an orifice, then you could, in theory, at the post office have said, "Where did my orifice go?"
The tiny orifices.
Actually, you have that fear that would make pores scary to you, wouldn't you? Because you've got that fear of holes in a wall or something?
Fear of a whole bunch of little holes altogether. Oh, ugh.
Yeah, AKA pores.
Oh.
And you know what's interesting is if that was in my accent, like if an Australian had been hired to do that ad, you can't tell the difference between "Where did my pores go?" and "Where did my paws go?"
Yeah.
And you could have little paws, but then they disappeared in the night. And the dog woke up and went, "Where did my paws go? I've just got stumps."
Well, it circles back because that's when they need the calming duck.
Right.
There you go. If you buy all these products, it's the perfect circle of life.
I think the duck would calm my gums too, so there might be a middleman that we can cut out.
Right. A free gum calming duck. Don't try to say that in public. Now I'm going to blurt it while I'm standing in line somewhere because of the fear that I'm going to blurt it.
You'll save. You'll save it. It's fine.
Oh, God.
Don't worry.
Can we move on to today's topic?
I wish we would. Hi there. I'm Ro, and I'll be your podcaster for today. Do you know how to tip your podcaster? It's actually pretty easy. You can rate our pod with lots of stars. All your stars. You can review it with your best superlatives. You can even subscribe or follow Bewildered so you'll never miss an episode. Then, of course, if you're ready to go all in, our paid online community is called Wilder, a sanctuary for the bewildered. And I can honestly say it's one of the few true sanctuaries online. You can go to wildercommunity.com to check it out. Rate, review, subscribe, join, and you all have a great day now.
I really like today's topic. It sounded kind of, at first it was like, oh, that's a nice topic. But as we talked about it, I was like, no, this is really key. I need to get this, but for real. Because the topic is.
Okay. So, as you know, on Bewildered, we like to talk about the culture and why it is evil. It's not evil, but, you know, I'm creating an effect here.
We don't need to make the defense of how we're defining culture.
No. Okay. Look it up.
All right, look it up.
Refer to our back catalogue.
Yeah.
Okay. So and here's what we want to talk about. Kindness. Look it up. It's a thing. The culture will often frame up kindness as like naive or like foolish or passive. And the thing about that is there's a reason they do it. And by they, I mean it, this unseen force that holds us together. And this is the thing. If we stay nice and we subscribe to this cultural idea of kindness, then we stay obedient. So we're going to get like ultra revolutionary around kindness today. And I'm here for it.
It's really an incredibly seditious force, because if you think about it, the culture has to move you off your true nature to get you to conform with everything else. And so it is fundamentally cruel. It's designed to be competitive. It's designed to extract things from you that don't feel good in the extraction. Yeah. So it, of course, says, don't even think about kindness. Kindness is weakness. Strength is the absence of kindness and the presence of cruelty.
Right. And so the subversive thing is that when you come at these forces with kindness, it actually disrupts all the systems that are based on division and cruelty. It's like a rebellion against the culture's scarcity mentality and rampant individualism and self and all of that stuff, and ego.
It's so interesting because the kindness that has to be repressed most, like viciously, is kindness to ourselves. Because if you're kind to another person, they can escape bits of the culture. But if you're kind to yourself, you can escape bits of the culture. So, and that's when it starts to rattle the whole machine. So, so we're told, stop being selfish. Kindness is selfishness, and
kindness to self is being selfish.
Yes, they'll tell you that self-kindness is selfishness. But actually, the reverse is true, that always capitulating to the culture, always fawning on people is in fact a sort of transactional behavior that is not kind to self and not kind to other. And if you can instead take on a position of observing what part of you needs to be treated with kindness, and then doing this, whatever simple words and actions that self needs to be nourished, you are disrupting culture at its absolute base, which is the genesis of your thoughts and actions.
So to be clear, when you're talking about self-kindness, or kindness in general, you're not talking about that sort of people-pleasing
you're right.
thing. It's not self-sacrifice or anything like that. We're actually digging into a kind of new narrative or a new definition of kindness that sort of runs counter to what the culture would have us believe about it, right?
The groveling, the fawning, the culture will tell you all those are selfless, even though the truth is that when our minds are dressed up in the culture, we do it for selfish reasons. We grovel and fawn for selfish reasons, and we're always out to get something because we aren't nourished at our source. So we're trying to get something from outside ourselves, and it's that extractive individualism. Yeah. I'm going to consume you by making you be nice to me by groveling and fawning, and you get this dance of sycophancy that is not actual kindness, but it's approved by the culture. Yes.
Yeah. So we're kind of reframing kindness or just kind of defining kindness as something that is like intrinsically powerful, like one of the most powerful forces that we can tap into and use for good. Especially, I want to say, living in a time when the culture often feels especially drenched in narratives of cruelty and its extractiveness, right?
Yeah. And people are so people are rightly anxious and nervous lately, and because I've written a book on that, I have been talking about how to get out of anxiety. And one thing I keep coming up against is if I said to somebody, be calm, there's no way to do that to yourself. It's like saying, fall in love with this person.
It's like asking your gums to be calm.
Yes, it is. If you try to calm your gums, it's like, how? I need this product, whatever it was. Yeah. But if I said to you, we're in a stress-filled situation, there are some people here that are frightened or worried, be kind. Even if you were afraid, even if you were disturbed, and you couldn't be calm, you could be kind. And if you hold that kindness, which is the ultimate sedition in any sort of conformist culture, you become a force for the revolution, the kind of revolution we want.
Yeah. So my hero, feminist, amazing Black feminist, Audre Lorde, said, I've come to believe that caring for myself is not self-indulgent. Caring for myself is an act of survival. Mm-hmm. And I feel like what she's getting at and what we're getting at is that kindness can actually cut through these patterns, these adversarial patterns that culture gets into, and it can build bridges and it can actually disarm cruelty. And I was thinking about that classic, iconic photograph from a Vietnam War protest where there's like a line of, I don't know, National Guard or something standing against the protesters, and they're placing like flowers, like stems of flowers, into the barrels of the rifles along the line. And I feel like that's the image of what we're getting at, is like, and putting a flower stem into a gun barrel is exactly the kind of thing that the culture will have you believe is naive, childish, simplistic. But you know what? That is the game. That exact reaction that we will have in our heads to the image of putting a flower in a gun.
Stupid, frail, idiotic, get your own gun and shoot back.
Right. And that's how they keep us small and powerless. But yeah, so self-kindness, you were saying, Marty. And
yeah, I mean, kindness to others is a really lovely thing. And I've been going around saying, yes, I could tell you to be calm and you couldn't. But if I said be kind to these other people, you could. But what I've realized is that I actually can't be genuinely kind at a sustained level for a long time to other people unless I'm kind to myself first. And I know maybe people are used to that. Maybe I'm starting to think that I have a particular impediment in this area because I find it really difficult to be kind to myself.
You do, yeah.
And yeah, so I'm always trying to be kind to other people first. And as many dissatisfied customers will tell you, no, they're not customers. As a lot of people have told me, the times I think I'm being kind to them, but I'm not being kind to myself, to myself, it doesn't come across as kindness. That it doesn't have the right effects. It has to start inside. It has to come from the core of your being. So to be kind to the part of you that is at the core is to fundamentally shift away from culture, but to start feeding your own kindness from an infinite well. Whereas if you're just kind to other people, you're drawing from an empty well.
Right. And I love the fact that this kind of programming is so deep in us that we almost have to take these steps or like workarounds or hacks to trick like our internalized cultural messages. So you have to say to yourself, be kind to someone else as the stepping stone to being kind to the self.
Right.
Right? It's like tricking the code so that you bypass the part of our brains that are like, oh, are you kind to yourself? Oh, isn't that nice?
Self-care, bubble bath.
Yeah, bubble bath.
Yeah. It's really interesting that, so they'll say, the culture says, be kind to others at the expense of yourself. But if you look at even like the Bible, Jesus supposedly said, love others as you love yourself. And as means,
good point.
In the same way, it means causally, like I'm taking on an umbrella as it is raining. So love others because you love yourself. Yeah. There's no other way to do it. And yet we've reversed that, and we've created this image of the Messiah martyr who is suffering and in anguish as the ultimate kindness gift to the world. And it's bizarre and it doesn't work.
It is. And it's worth, like, because this is some deep programming, like I feel like it's worth digging into like what how that happens in the culture and what is that cultural narrative around kindness, because kindness is encouraged by the culture, but it has to look in a certain way.
Right.
And so I feel like the culture treats kindness as either like a moral obligation, like be nice.
Right.
Or transactionally, like what you were just saying of like, I'd be nice to you so that I can get something
Can
myself
I just say
later.
something to all the folks who think if I'm super nice to a celebrity, they have to give me something in return? I'm not I don't consider myself a celebrity, but I'm celebrity adjacent enough that I've felt that energy coming at me for decades. And it when you use apparent kindness as a way to manipulate other people into doing nice things for you, they can tell. Sorry, but it's very different from getting real kindness.
No, it's funny how deeply transactional kindness can be detected and that we still just go along with it, because I think there is such a strong, like, this is acceptable message that goes out, right? So there's that kind of moral obligation or transactional feeling. I think sometimes like there's kindness is a performance.
Oh,
right?
Definitely.
That sort of virtue signaling stuff that happens on social media and or anywhere.
Oh my God.
Posturing, like that performing kindness, which feels exactly as gross.
Could I just say, my algorithm goes heavily towards animals being rescued from danger. And there are tons of videos of people who claim to have found like a puppy in the snow and they raised it, only it's kind of a different color in the second, like the animal changes as they save it. So they're actually doing this performance of saving an animal, and you can see they're using different film, different animals.
It's editing.
Yeah, it's all editing.
Very true, very true. So that's as entertainment, I guess.
I guess.
And then, another way that kindness is presented in the culture or expressed in the culture is like manipulation.
Yeah.
Emotional manipulation, like with love bombing, if you know that term, any kind of coercive.
Say more about love bombing.
So love bombing is this term that I guess comes from sort of popular psychology. And I think it's like a strategy that is used, I guess you would say by, I don't know, there's probably like the DSM-5 would say these are the types of personality disorders or whatever that would use it. But it's basically when you just heap love on someone like relentlessly and it's a strategic move to gain something from them, right?
Have you ever had someone do that to you?
Yes.
I have too, and it's so frightening.
It's funny how icky so much of this stuff is, and then at the same time we're acknowledging that it's so familiar and so common.
Yeah, it's because, and I know I've said this a million times on the podcast, but it's this Buddhist concept of the near enemy. So even when we sat down to do a podcast on kindness, I immediately had little yellow flags waving that said, people are going to think you mean debasing yourself towards someone else, doing things, exhausting yourself for other people, all that fawning, all that false, what appears to be kindness. And because that word has been so colonized by the culture, right? Mm-hmm. So it stands for something that is cooperation with the culture, where you throw yourself down at the bottom of the pyramid and let people take advantage of you and call it kindness, but that's not kindness.
Right. And I really feel like part of what's going on here with the culture is, I mean, we anthropomorphize the culture as though it's like a chuckling puppeteer, evil Wizard of Oz kind of thing. But there's this like facade of fake kindness that gets trotted out, but real kindness, the sort of an expression or a sensation of true kindness, which we'll dig into more soon, is like the culture will take that and weaponize that instinct that is actually fairly pure.
Extremely pure, yeah.
So, women will automatically be feeling all this martyr energy in how we're defining the put yourself down. But like it's a really strong, like it's a way that marginalized people of all stripes are kept in their place, right? That they're being, like, kindness is being demanded in a way that is like, you will not take up space. You will be nice, you will sit down, you will make sure you maintain the status quo, of what we're doing. And oh my gosh, I saw this thing on the internet that was talking about, like, from a gender studies perspective, it was about like how thinness comes in and out of vogue. And someone was recalling, like, a gender studies professor saying things like, yeah, well, you can't fight if you're underfed.
Oh, interesting.
Right? And who benefits from you taking up less space? So, like, these cultural ideals are part of the way that the status quo and the power structures that we have that are based in cruelty, that they're sustained. And so it's like co-opted in a really creepy way.
Yeah. Yikes.
But you were talking about fawning before, Marty, and I'm curious about, like, what is that? What's fawning, and what's its function, and what happens there?
When you're frightened, you have a fight-flight response. We all know that. And what I have also come to know, and maybe said before, is that there are a few other F words that get turned on when you become worried, anxious, fearful. And it's fight, flight, yes, but it's also freeze, faint, and then fawn, where fawning is a behavior that social predators in particular use to keep other members of their own group from attacking them. It's like lone predators don't need it, and animals that aren't predatory don't need it. But if you get a predatory animal that's living in groups, you actually have to defend yourself against the predation of your own species. And the way that shows up in, like, dogs and foxes and us is this sort of groveling. And like, as I say it, I put my head literally down. And there are cultures where you literally have to put your head down lower.
Oh yeah, in Thailand, you had to do that, and it's really hard when you're a fairly tall person in a nation of fairly short people. I was always like, I'm going to blame my bad posture actually on that year in Thailand.
There you go. It is really interesting how I remember doing a study on a workplace in Asia where the height of people's desks was actually established. Like, they would put them on daises above the floor to build them up if they were in a literal higher position. And it's universal. I think it's biological. But I think most of us, and maybe y'all listening out there, can remember a time when you were acting the way the culture wants you to. You were calling it kindness, but it was actually fawning. And I have a life's history of this. Oh my God. So I often say, and it's true, I will go to my grave fighting for the good of humanity, but I do not like people. And they scare me, and I want to run away from them. And what always happens is I have to do something with people, and I hate the approach. And then I go and do it, and I come back, and I'm like, they were really nice. I really liked them. So you said to me the other day, you know what? It's not that you're afraid of people because you don't like them. You're afraid of them because you like everyone. And then you don't know how to deal with that. But then someone else who was there, who knows me well, said, no, I think you actually are afraid of people because you have such an overwhelming hair trigger fawning response that you actually have no idea whether you like people or not. You're completely off your own base. You don't even know what you think. You're just a fawner at that point.
So you've, like, lost yourself, your integrity altogether.
Yeah. And given it up and called it kindness. And that, you can't be calm from there. There's nothing there. There's no there. You're pretending. So if people think you're being kind, but you're really pretending, that's not nice. That's not kind. If I pretend to be in love with you because I am afraid of you, and then I want to run away from you, that's not genuine kindness. I've actually done that with people.
With me?
No.
because you're not doing a very good job of getting away.
When I was 15 and a 30-year-old man wanted me to be his bride. And I was like, you're the best person in the world. And then I ran as fast as I could. Yeah. I don't want to go into the gory details. He's dead now, so that's okay. So, I mean, I used to remember, I used to walk around. I heard the song Someone to Watch Over Me. And I would walk around singing it. Only I would sing the lyrics, someone to walk over me.
Like by accident?
Yeah. I'd just be humming like, someone to walk over me. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Remember that thing when we used to sing that song, how does it go? The Sweet Dream?
Oh, the Dream a Little Dream of Me?
Yeah.
When we're at a seminar and we're in a hotel with 100 fans.
Yeah.
Sweet dreams till someone finds you.
Yeah, instead of sunlight, till someone finds you.
Yeah. It's so
we
sweet.
hide. We love hiding, though, actually, don't we? We kind of have this like delight in hiding.
Yeah, there is an enormous delight in hiding when you live as a fawning sycophant.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, this is so confessional. I think you're right. This is like the confessional booth. How would I know? I've never been in a confessional booth. I can dream. A girl can dream, Ro.
Oh, I'll take you to a confessional booth sometime. If you're good.
Oh, nice.
If you're good, if you're kind, be kind. Oh, my God. We're programming our daughter with this stuff right now.
You know? So, what does real kindness look like? Now I'm like getting into my confusion because I really am deeply confused in this issue.
Yeah.
But I think you are less confused.
Well, I don't know. I have a kind of radical vibe about kindness, but I'm not very good at like defending it in language. So, but I do know it so I will always kind of try and turn, I don't know, like take a kind of political angle to things. Like, you know, even with this topic, I'm like, rah, we're going to revolutionize kindness. Yeah. But like when I have encountered real kindness, it has cut right through every one of those like mental systems that ultimately are just as cultural as any of the other shit, right? That we're lambasting here. I think I've talked before on here about when I was in Cape Town in South Africa and I got mugged and I got all my money taken away from me. It was quite an upsetting experience. And the 6 hours at the police station was quite upsetting as well. And that happened sort of early afternoon, and then I guess late morning, early afternoon, went police station, rah. And then the long and short of it was that I needed some money to be wired to me or I wasn't going to be able to do anything.
Sure.
And I went to a place where they accepted like wire transfers. Like it was like a tourism shop front kind
You're
of.
so resourceful. I just would have lain down and cried forever.
Well, I went to this place and it was about 4:45 and I'm guessing it was probably a Friday too. It was like that was the thing. And I went in there and I was like, I need to get in touch with Australia. Need you to call Australia and ask for a little cash. And this woman who later told me she like lived on the outskirts of Cape Town. So she had a huge commute ahead of her. She was in this customer service role that I can guarantee you did not pay well. And she looked at the time and she looked at what was involved in Western Union or whatever it was going to be. And she reached under the desk and she picked up her wallet and she opened it up and she handed me, I don't know how many rand, but enough to get me through. And it cut through every, like, you know, you can have all these mental constructs about privilege and race and rah, and it was just like, there was nothing, none of that meant anything. It was just like that, you're hungry, I have food. You need money, I have money. You just need it. Everything else is incidental.
Oh, it reminds me of the quote from Shakespeare, I think it's Twelfth Night, where one of the characters said, "So shines a good deed in a naughty world." Like and it's about a candle being lit in the darkness that they can move toward, just the tiniest light, and it will cut through all that darkness, and it sort of paves a way forward. And like just the energy of that anecdote is so different from what we've been talking about as the cultural training we get in being nice. It's so powerful. And I've always, you told me that story and I was like, oh, she is such a kind woman. I don't know if I would have done that.
No, you would have.
Maybe, but I've come to believe that impulse on her part, because I have felt it, I would probably do it, but only to the extent that I have learned to turn kindness toward myself. That's what I've learned doing my little book tour and everything, is that to go from a state of anxious deprivation where I'm terrified and fawning and scraping into a genuine kindness, into an abundance of goodness coming from within me that wants to spill into the world, that only can happen if I turn my kindness toward myself. And I do it in the simplest ways. It's so simple. Every morning now, since I've been on this book tour, I wake up and I say to myself, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering, may you be protected. And the kindness in the words starts to draw on this well inside me that I didn't know was there. Really, and I've been around a while, and it's pulling something up for me that is intensely beautiful, and I had no idea I didn't know about it before.
Yeah, I mean, you used the example of a well, and it's almost like there's this potential for us to access like an eternal wellspring of kindness, but we do have to learn to subvert all our ideas, all of those sort of Judeo-Christian probably ideas about kindness equaling self-sacrifice, and learning to be able to be kind, which is easier than being calm. Like it's an easier fake it till you make it.
That's what it is. It's the way you can fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So this is the beginning of how we come to our senses. But Marty, how do we come to our senses?
Well, let's talk about it right after this.
So we're talking come to your senses when it comes to kindness.
Right.
And I feel like what we've kind of been talking about is the way that true kindness, starting with kindness towards ourselves, is actually a deeply subversive force in our culture.
Right.
And that it has the power to disrupt systems of cruelty and division. And it's a rebellion, you know, against the scarcity, everyone in it for himself kind of mentality that is peddled so widely, never more than now in this culture.
So, if you want to be a rebel against the culture of domination and extraction and overwhelming force, be a rebel first by being kind to yourself. Like that is such an act of rebellion.
It is.
And I used to meditate every morning, and I could call this meditation still, but I've just been actively practicing self-kindness. And I did dig my way toward this well of just sweetness that came bubbling up from nowhere. It didn't feel like it was, actually it did feel like it was me, but an aspect of myself I'd never found before. And the more I am deliberately kind to myself, and it's always tiny. It's always like, would you like a drink of water? Would you like a fuzzy blanket? Like really small things. Would you like to go outside?
You need to pee. Why don't you just go pee?
Yeah. I remember when I was doing my dissertation and I was interviewing women about their role conflict, and this one woman told me, I just was aware of this growing pain all day. And then I realized I'd been helping other people all day at my job at work, and I had not peed.
Do you remember we had a conversation once in Wilder, which is our online community for Bewildered, and I don't remember what our like explicit context for this conversation was supposed to be, but for a whole Arty Friday hang where we were all chatting with each other on Zoom, this whole thing just came running through it, which was we don't even let ourselves pee. I mean, like that's the level at which we have absorbed the self-denial narrative or virtue signaling or something. No one knows if you need to pee and you're not, and yet like somehow that's virtuous.
Yeah, it's and people say it with pride. I've heard people say it with pride, and I don't think. I mean, it's something to be proud of in terms of, yes, you do have the ability to really hold yourself apart from goodness out of the best of motivations, but it's not kind to the world if it's not kind to ourselves. And the other thing is that kindness is a clear establishment of personal boundaries. Yeah. Because it's not about pleasing other people. It's about living in your own truth. So if I don't pee because I don't want to disturb you, that is not the truth.
Or if I won't pee because I can get another hour's work done and, it's fine. I'm fine. It's no trouble.
Yeah, but that's – no animal would listen to that. Like when they need to go, they will go and they will come put a paw on you, especially if they don't have a calming duck.
Where did my paws go?
Where did my paws go? And they will openly own what they need, and they will do their best to get along with everybody, but they don't totally deny their own feelings, especially not, I mean, we do it emotionally. It's one thing not to pee for a while, but it's another thing never to offer yourself the kindness of just saying inside yourself, you did your very best and I'm proud of you. Stuff like that. Yes, you made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. Of course you feel sad, but it's okay. I'm right here with you. This is the kind of thing I've been asking people to say. And they, like when I do podcasts, and they start to weep. Just because I ask them to say, tell yourself you're doing your best and it'll be okay. And I've come to realize that kindness is the alignment with truth, the truth from within us, and then the truth around us. And we actually only have access to our truth if we are being kind. The moment you step out of kindness, you step out of alignment with what you really are, which is inherently kind, I believe. So it's like in the book I wrote about integrity, I talk about how structural integrity, everything being aligned in a machine, like in a jumbo jet, if all the machine parts are aligned with each other, it can fly. But if it gets really misaligned, if something gets really misaligned, you're in danger. And I have spent years being subtly and blatantly cruel to myself and thinking, this is fine, it'll keep the plane flying. No, it endangers the flight, And I know that because when I increased kindness to myself, everything started working more smoothly and I was happier.
So this is interesting because when I was saying like I have vibes about kindness and what it really is, but I'm not that clear on how to like verbalize it. It's really cool listening to what you're saying because I feel like maybe tapping into kindness, like the idea of being able to tap into it like it's oil or something or water is better analogy. And that it's this huge, powerful force that is accessible to us and that flies in the face of the divisions in culture. Like, I feel like maybe kindness is just another word for whatever the universe, like it.
Yeah, it.
Whatever the substance of spirituality is, whatever you feel when you meditate or pray or whatever. Like, is that just that? Is that just us getting into a level of truth that is the same thing? And so therefore, like, if you saying to yourself, don't worry, you tried your hardest and you did really well and I'm really proud of you. And that feels better in the way that truth makes your body feel better. Then, like, what a beautiful full circle moment where truth and kindness and grace are all the same thing.
They're aligned.
revolution.
Yeah. And when we were talking about it and you said, I said, so what happens when you're kind to yourself? And you said, this was just a little while ago. I remember it so clearly. You said, oh, so when I align myself with the kindness that I believe is in the world, I do this and this. And I was like, wait, what? Go back. Because you talked about aligning yourself with a kindness that you felt was in the world. And I always thought kindness is when you dig down, take a deep breath, push your needs aside, and pull up kind actions and are polite to everybody, no matter how bad you feel. And the idea, when you said that, I love the image of kindness as a frequency that is already reverberating through the cosmos.
Right. It's like dial in. That's why I was saying tapping into it. Like there's all these different, it's just like it is a frequency that you can access. You just have to tune the radio right. And then for yourself, for everyone else, it's all there in abundance.
Yeah. And you don't do it because you want to be liked or you want to be approved of or you want to get money or whatever. You do it because it's the truth. And the truth makes us strong in ourselves. And that, and only that, I believe, this alignment with the goodness that is intended for you from all the universe. Yeah. When you align with that by being kind, just by saying a simple, kind thing to yourself, you open the doorway for the feeling you've been looking for all your life. This feeling of being securely loved, of being embraced, of being held. I mean, for me, this simple practice of self-kindness is so much more than I thought it would be. It's not just how to stop being anxious. It is access to the bedrock truth of reality as I experience it right now.
And another word for that is home, right?
Oh, you're so right.
Yeah.
That is where we live. Yeah.
Yeah. So when our truth is more important than how much we're liked, that's the kindness that's accessible to us. And that's how we learn to
stay wild.
We hope you're enjoying Bewildered. If you're in the USA and want to be notified when a new episode comes out, text the word WILD to 570-873-0144. We're also on Instagram. Our handle is Bewildered Podcast. You can follow us to get updates, hear funny snippets and outtakes, and chat with other fans of the show. Bewildered is produced by Scott Forster with support from the brilliant team at MBI. And remember, if you're having fun, please rate and review and stay wild.